In 2024, I built an epic M42, M44 Frankenstein 16 valve BMW engine, and it turned out to be amazing. It made really, really good power. But this year, 25, we're taking it to the next level. And today I'm going to be busy with the clearances. So you can see I've got the crankshaft, I've got my bearings. We're going to be using plastic gauge, and I'm going to be checking the big end bearings and the main bearing clearances. So that's a big objective of today. I want to get this crank in. I need to give it a full clean first, a proper good clean, and then we'll get everything in. It's always good with all of your components, before you start your build, you need to clean everything and make sure it's clean. We're going to give it the full Monty. And I'm using the Ravenol brake cleaner, of course. Only the best. From there I went on to clean all the bearing caps and the bearing shells, and install the bearing shells into the block, and prep the crank so that we could start the process of checking the clearances with plastic gauge. Here I just installed the crank. Make sure not to rotate the crank, and then I cleaned and installed each bearing cap into the pedestals for the main bearings. Then I cut the plastic gauges to the correct size and placed each plastic gauge on each main bearing, and then install the bearing caps. And the clearances came out perfect, 0.038 millimeters. I then had fun trying to install the oil squirters, and this was a bit of a challenge for some reason. Then just used my trusty red line assembly lube and went through all of the bearings, obviously cleaning off the plastic gauge first, and then making sure all the bearings were well lubed. I then moved on to the pedestal bearing caps and lubed them, making sure that there is a decent layer of assembly lube for startup. Well, it's really for cranking for oil pressure, because that can take a very long time sometimes. Oh man, there we go, getting it all together. We're going to use ARP lube on the mains. Like you saw in the first round, we need to put the cap on with the bolts so that we can make sure they align. Just to check that the bearing is in the correct orientation. Make sure the GoPros are running. So much to do. Number 2. Number 3, see it has lube, assembly lube, ARP lube on the bolts, on the thread, and on the heads. Bearing is the correct way around. Bolts turn nicely. Lube, bolts, assembly lube, orientation. Alright, lube, bolt, bolt. Okay, we'll do the 20 newtons first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like 50 degrees. I think what we're gonna do, oh, that's why. 7, 8, 9. Oh yeah, that is amazing. Wow, look at that, beautiful. After a long and painful process, managed to get all of the big end clearances sorted. So super happy, they're all within spec. And that spec is 0.038 millimeters. So super happy with that. From here it is assembly time. So the crank is already in. Now we're just going to put the piston rings on and start assembling the final assembly. So super stoked with that. It's the end of a long day. I installed a lift over the last week and it's been killing me. So at least that's done. I can now start focusing on this stuff and get this thing done. So there's a lot of small things we got to do, but all good. So we'll see you in the next couple of days. If you want to see some more of this kind of content, please consider subscribing. Just click on the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you're good to go. Alright, so it is a new day here and we're going to start with the piston installation, piston conrod assembly installation, and there's a bit of things we got to do, but obviously it's the same simple process. So let me flip this around real quick. Okay, grab cylinder number 1. So I still have the bearings installed, which is fine. And what we need to do is we need to obviously wipe down the block, and then the rings. Remember, we marked all the rings 1, 2, 3, 4. So these rings obviously need to go with each piston on each specific cylinder. So let me wipe the block down real quick, just again to make sure it's clean. And then I had to change the orientation of the oil squirters to make sure that they're clear. So I need to just make sure that that is all good. Can't believe how well this crank turns. Still can't believe it. So this is the intake side. Make sure that the intake side of the piston is all lined up properly. We're going to start with this bottom oil ring. Always remember the orientation of the gaps. You always clock it either 90 or 180 with each ring specifically. So we're going to put a ring on the bottom. So the gap is here. So we're going to install the gap for the bottom oil ring 90 degrees away from it. So that is nice. And this one 90 degrees. Okay, so spring oil ring gap here, bottom oil ring, top oil ring. Then we get the oil scraper ring. Make sure the groove is always facing down. Make sure the ring is cleaned. Now we're going to put this ring 90 degrees on the thrust side on the intake. These are always a bit of a challenge, but and they're super brittle, so just make sure you don't break them. Take your time. And then the top ring will be installed 90 degrees from that. And there we go, those are rings. So I'm just going to do all the rings for all the cylinders and then we'll come back. Right, bearings are all lubed up. Rod bolts are all lubed up with ARP Ultra Torque lube. It's time to go in. Catching on the conrod, so I have to realign that. Alright, so it's time to assemble this pump. Given this thing a clean, given the pump a clean, I've also ground out some of the edges there to free up oil flow. You can see I've kind of smoothed it over. So let's assemble. Now I'm going to be extremely liberal with the oil. Put a cloth under here so we don't drip everywhere. Want this kind of chamber to fill up these chambers as well. Okay, so a new external ring. One ring to rule them all. And then we take the new internal gear. Gonna give this puppy a bunch of oil. Add a bunch of oil. There's the marking. Marking must be up, obviously, because it must locate. There. There we go. Alrighty, so like I say, I want oodles of oil in there because I want it to be able to prime quite easily. Alrighty, so that's good. Just gonna block that hole for now. What we'll do is just close this up. Now this obviously only goes a certain way. Not that way, not that way. There it is. Okay, now we get the bolts for it. Alright, so it is time to put the front cover on, and I'm putting Rhinzo seal around the water pump area just because I don't want it to leak. So, specifically on the aluminium front cover section. This over, dowel pins line up, screw that one in there. Oil pump is on, beautiful. And now we just put the bolts in. Okay, on with the main sprocket. We are making good progress. So we're now putting the timing chains in. The timing guides. Chain guides? That's what it is, the chain guides. Timing guides. Well, I guess it is a timing guide. And we're gonna need these obviously for when we do the cam timing. Hand torque. Click. So I think it's time to put the cylinder head on. I'm a bit nervous, but you know, we just got to go step by step. It's been a while since I assembled this motor, so I'm just trying to remember the sequence. But yeah, I think it's time. Let's go. All right. So first things first, we want to clean the deck. In other words, the block. So let me just get a rag, nice clean towel, microfiber towel. So we're just cleaning the block, the surface of the block. Need to make space for the cylinder head here. So we're going to need to clean that too. And we are going to take our Redline cylinder head gasket. Now I got this from a company in Cape Town called Redline gaskets. So I've inserted the dowels here. It's very important that the dowels are there. So the gasket goes on. Now the tolerances are super close on this thing. So here we go, it's located on the dowels. If I look at all the ports and everything looks right. Just make sure. I did check it, everything looks good, so not much left to do but to do it. And this is the thing with this head gasket, it's a super tight tolerance. Can only go on one way. So there we go. So I'm not going to use copper gasket sealer. It says you don't have to, you just install it like that and it's go time. So let me get the cylinder head. Alright, the time has come. Cylinder head is going on. Man, this is a heavy cylinder head. Whoop. Oh, shit balls. I need that gasket. Oh man, I forgot about that. New gasket. Right, let's get it. Okay, so we might have a new challenge. What I'm going to do, just to be safe, is I'm going to clean this surface where the water pump goes, clean the surface here, and I'm actually going to put some gasket seal on here because we're running a different height here. In fact, I might just put gasket seal on this whole thing because, like I say, the heights are completely different, just in case. Normally I wouldn't do this, but it's just a safety precaution because of the come on. Okay, that looks like it's alright. Now, to get it in the there we go. Fell straight in. Beautiful. Okay, now we will need to bolt it down. Alrighty. Let's keep going. So we're just gonna tighten these bolts all down. Okay. Quick update, I've taken the cams out, lubed everything, torqued the cam caps down, intake and exhaust. I have cleaned up the intake and exhaust sprockets, so those are on. Put this chain guard on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to route the chain and get it ready so that we can start doing cam timing. Let's go. So that is that fastened. And I have the washer. I just painted the washer because I had to modify it to suit. And there, straight away we can see it's off TDC. So let's just get our 22 mil socket. All right. Alright, so what happened there was actually very interesting. The exhaust cam was just out of position a little bit. It was retarded, and it was touching the piston when I tried to turn it over. So now you can see here the piston goes through TDC quite easily. So now we set it. So now we can take that all off. Got to be super careful though. Shit, such a delicate process. Luckily this cover locks in with 2 dowels, so it will not move in terms of its position. 100% true TDC. All right. We're going to use the stock arrows just because this one must move one tooth. No. That's not great. We need it in the middle of the slot. Right, and here comes the chain tensioner. Okay, so now I know this is not a perfect degree wheel. Don't judge me. I'm having some made that I would like to sell, so I'm busy prototyping those, but for now this will have to do. So I'm just setting the TDC mark. I've got the dial gauge on TDC. That is money. Okay, now we'll go around and make sure Yep, 100% TDC. Okay, perfect. Let me set up the gauge on the intake cam and then we'll take it from there. Alright, so intake cam we're going to set to 110 degrees after TDC, lobe center. It's 110 degrees. And now we must set the cam. Alright, so as mentioned, we're going for 110 on the intake. So there you can see it's set to 110. And now we're just going to confirm. We're going to confirm max lift on the intake cam. There we go. Okay. Right, intake is done. Exhaust we're going to make 108 degrees before top dead center. 360 minus 108, 252. 252 degrees. And now we have to set the max lift, so that is maximum lift at 252 degrees before top dead center. There we go. TDC number 1 firing, cam timing done. Alright guys, so as you saw, I managed to get the cams in and we've done the cam timing, got the cylinder head on and built pretty much the bottom end as well as the top end. I didn't expect doing all of that in this video, but I'm super stoked with the progress we've made this week. It's been a big week, but yeah, got a lot of the critical stuff done, so super happy with that. So we're going to call this episode over here. I got a lot of editing to do. I'm sorry it was super technical, but that is what goes into building any engine to this level, you know, and it's all the checks and everything that just has to go into it, you know. So the workshop is a mess. I've got a lift I need to finish installing, and I've got this video I need to edit. So thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys next time, and hopefully next week in the next episode we'll get this puppy on the dyno. See ya.